It's right over here. So,
Thank you.
hey everybody, good afternoon. Our bi-weekly KW Commercial Superstar meeting. Thanks for joining. A few more gonna jump as we go. Um, Today guest Andy Giti. Andy, I think you presented a few months back, right?
Yeah.
Sometime.
Can you hear me okay?
Hear you loud and clear and see you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's been probably, time flies, but I think it's been about 6 months now since I presented last time. Probably right at the end of the third quarter, as soon as I presented, the real estate market, as you know, especially residential, is just taken off, right, the last 6 months. As we mentioned, the commercial side is slowly picking up, but it's been the DST market, which we introduced last time, is just absolutely blown up. From here to the East Coast, it's just been a huge option for clients that wasn't there before. But what has happened was, there's a lot of factors, right? The market's been hot in residential, commercial. There's some pockets that are hot, some pockets that are not hot. But with eviction processes being pushed back, for forbearance coming aboard, a lot of commercial landlords they're trying to just position themselves to see what they're going to do. But a lot of the landlords, the owners, a lot of them say, you know what, we're not going to wait anymore. We're going to, liquidate, sell, and let's just reposition, not pay the taxes, and go into other properties. And most importantly, they want to diversify into other areas. Hotspots that we've been working with are Texas, Florida, Tennessee. And then today, like I said, we're going to give you some options. But yeah, it's been about probably 5 months since last time we spoke.
Yeah, thank you. One of the reasons, by the way, to kind of pick up the DST topic once again, because it is picking up, around us, and we need to better educate ourselves and learn more about such opportunities. And okay, we spoke 5-6 months ago. How is it different today than it was, 5 months ago with this market? Residential, commercial is picking up even more this year, so there's definitely more opportunity, right? So in addition to that, I know that we have an additional guest that you brought in. Do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, and just really quickly, for those of you who I haven't met, I met probably half the people in this room already, but I work for Western Securities. We have right now about 2,000 reps throughout the nation. I run my own team based in Pasadena, Westlake, and Northridge. But today I'm very lucky to be able to bring, I'm going to introduce to you, he's from Inland Securities Corporation. They are the largest DST provider in the United States. So they've been around, their story speaks for itself. Senior VP, his name is Charles Jensen. I don't want to talk too much. I'm going to let him talk just briefly about what DSTs, 1031s are, and most importantly, just finding solutions for clients in this exploding market. So Charles, please.
Great, thank you so much. Manny, thanks for having me on here as well. Hey, could you give me the share screen option too? It's disabled for me. If you don't mind giving me the share screen, it'd be awesome. Thank you.
All yours. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate it.
No, it's great to be here today. Appreciate that. Just pulling up some slides here. So yeah, I'm Charles Jensen. I'm a senior vice president with Inland Real Estate. We're out of Chicago, Illinois. As Andy mentioned, we're the largest DST sponsor in the nation. The last 10 years, we've averaged about 30% of the market share of all DST companies. So here's our company with the market share, and there's like 65 companies that compete outside of that 30% market share that we have. So part of the reason we have so much market share, and I don't want to talk about us too much, just for a minute, if you don't mind, who we are. I got my little slide deck up here. We're started by 4 Chicago teachers back in the 60s. And a lot of people don't know who we are because we're a privately held company. But these 4 teachers, they met in teaching school. They decided to buy some real estate because they were not making anything, right? $6,000 a year back in the 60s was still not a lot of money. They taught at the same school in South Chicago. And they started to buy some real estate to make some extra money. They're using the faculty lounge phone, the couches with the phone with the cord. Started buying properties. They bought a $4,000 piece of land. That's what they call us inland, because we're buying land and developing it from the beginning, right? One deal turned into 2. All the teachers were like, hey, can we invest with you? Can you give you some money? And they got money from teachers across the whole state of Illinois. And then the Midwest, they turned to like a little mini CalSTRS, if you will, of the Midwest. And by 1967, they decided, let's incorporate. So there's a little time frame. They incorporated in 68 and formed in 67. They kept developing land. They bought apartments, medical office, industrial, storage, you name the asset class, they bought everything over the years. By 1989, those 4 teachers that all came from low-income families became the largest landlord of Walmart. So I'm kind of skipping some steps to get the idea. They became billionaires. Walton Family Trust used to lease everything, trucks, land, buildings, everything, because they were just focused on their business. So they became the biggest owner of Walmart in 89. Today, they're the 8th largest commercial property owner in the US, and all 4 of them are still there. On the far left is the head of our chief legal counsel, and the red ties, head of sales, bow ties, head of acquisitions. You ever go to ICSC in Vegas? This is one of the main guys at our booth, Joe 𝐑𝐚𝐴 in the middle there. The far right is Dan Goodman, the chairman and CEO. So the reason we have so much market share, it's real simple in the DST realm, is we've done 120 of these DSTs, start to finish. Most of our competitors have never done one because a lot of companies have just jumped in the business. So a lot of people trust the industry leader, right, with the business. So about 10 billion now in real estate with the debt and equity is our new number, with properties almost every state, every asset class that we've done. So enough about us, or the 8th largest commercial property owner today and the biggest DST sponsor. And my goal is to talk to you about the DST. I understand from Andy that we've already had another company that came in and talked about DST a little bit. Would you mind if I reviewed it and explained it my way? Maybe it's a little bit different, but a way to kind of understand it. Plus, I think review is good, right? Repetition's good.
Stage is yours.
Thank you so much. So I'm assuming, because you're all commercial brokers, you know about 1031s, the QI process, right? How that all works. I do a lot of work with Greg Burns and IPX and the different people out there. And I've also lobbied on behalf of 1031 in DC. So I was there in the meeting with Pete Sessions when they decided to make exchanges for investment property and take the personal property away. They wanted to take it all away. And so as head of Fidelity, we convinced them to keep investment property because of the land. You can't depreciate land, right? It was the biggest thing. So today I just want to go over the 6 major bullet points of a Delaware statutory trust and make it really simple. We all know a 1031 exchange, to be considered eligible, has to be held for investment, right? Investment or business use. That's what it means by like kind. And a lot of investors I run into, they're always like, oh, like kind means you have to stay in apartments and go to apartments. It's not true. Anything held for investment or business use, you can exchange into anything held for investment or business use. Back in 2004, the IRS came up with a revenue procedure called the Delaware Statutory Trust. And it was Revenue Procedure 2004-86. So basically it was a revenue code. This is not like some private letter ruling. This is baked in to IRS law. The 2004-86 created the Delaware Statutory Trust. Now I know there's other acronyms out there that use the DST, but this is the real DST, the one that is set up through the IRS, through the revenue procedure put in place. And what it is it's a trust that's considered like kind. And think about a trust. A lot of rich people have trusts where they put multiple assets inside their trusts. All it is a trust that can hold multiple properties that's considered exchangeable per the IRS rules. And today, I'm going to go over the 6 major reasons you want to use a DST, or to identify the clients that would be right for a DST within your book of business, because you're going to find a lot of people that want to get involved in this just for some of these things. So the first bullet point in green, it says access to institutional quality properties. And there's relative safety in a DST, and you get higher quality properties. How does that happen? So there's trust. You can get a fractional ownership or a beneficial interest in the trust. That any DST can have up to 500 individuals inside of the DST, up to 500 people. So if we have Andy's 100,000, which is the minimum to get into a DST, is $100,000, and we have my million, we have someone else's 10 million, we have someone else's $50 million. I've done a $97 million DST before. Imagine what you could buy. And so here's a list of what you could buy, right? So we all know sports, right? ESPN headquarters is an inland Delaware statutory trust. Every time you watch SportsCenter, that is an inland DST. The whole thing in Bristol, Connecticut is an inland DST. AT&T's corporate headquarters is an inland Delaware Statutory Trust. A lot of the Amazon distribution facilities across the country are inland DSTs. FedEx facilities can be DSTs, Class A apartment buildings, Class B apartment buildings, hospitals, storage facilities. So can you imagine that person in Los Angeles that sells that $1 million duplex? That doesn't exist anymore, right? Let's just imagine it does. $1 million duplex, what else can you buy, right? It's very difficult to find something. If it's $1 million, over $1 million, right? You're kind of dealing with that money. You're handcuffed to that dollar amount. But in a Delaware statutory, if you group together, there's power numbers. You can buy bigger and better properties by everyone working together to buy a bigger, better property in general. Bullet point number 2 is no management responsibilities, right? You know, a lot of investors don't want management, don't want to deal with it. You know, we call it the terrible T's, the tenants, the toilets, the trash, the terminal, termites, dangerous taxes, TROs, whatever. The whole idea in a DST is you can't have 500 people managing the real estate, right? It's like having 500 cooks in the kitchen. You're going to burn that meal every time. So inland is the trustee of the trust. I think Cantor Fitzgerald was in there before. Cantor Fitzgerald is the trustee of the trust. So as a property manager, we handle all the problems. The water heater blows up, we handle it. Someone doesn't pay rent, we handle it. We have, you know, tons of lawyers and accountants. If there's an accounting issue, we handle it. There's depreciation, we handle it. There's a legal issue, we handle it. So all you do is you sit back, we manage it. You're in a passive investment. You're a passive owner inside this DST. I have 3 different Delaware statutory trusts. Every first of the month, I get a direct deposit into my account. I literally forget about my direct deposit because I have no management, right? So it shows up every month. I'm like, oh, that's right. My checking account went up. I got 3 DSTs. That's right. So I get a monthly income that comes in from inland, direct deposit to any account you want. You get a quarterly update on the properties. So basically it shows you what's happening in the apartment building or whatever it is. Here's the occupancies. Here's the new doggy wash or whatever people are doing these days, volleyball courts. End of the year, you receive a simple informational 1099. I've got my tax appointment tomorrow with my accountant, and whenever he does my accounting on my DSTs, he just takes all of my 1099s, he plugs them into Schedule E. Schedule E is where we report rental income, right? So he just reports them on Schedule E as property A, B, and C. So at the end of the year, if you see this document here, this person in the top right-hand corner owns 2.7% beneficial interest in the trust. So this trust might own 1 or more properties, and this person owns 2.7% of all the properties in the trust. They received, hypothetically, $77,808 in that first red box. That's their rental income. It goes into Schedule E, right? You also see the interest expense that they got $32,694 in deductions because of interest expense, right? So this looks a lot like a K1. Here's page number 2, right? It shows the loan, all the loan information, loan balances, and it shows page 3, land improvements and building. So everything the accountant needs to figure out your cost basis and to work into Schedule E, because we know you're going to defer your state, your federal, your Medicare, and your recapture taxes on a 1031 exchange. The one tax you cannot defer, right, is the income derived on the property, ordinary income, which is upwards around 40%. But we can shelter it by doing some accelerated depreciation, which our accountants are going to give you as much depreciation passed on to you as much as you can. So again, monthly income, quarterly updates, end of the year statement that's not a K1 that arrives on time. So it's not going to force you into an extension, right? Third bullet point is diversification. We always say it's not good to put all your eggs into one basket, right? And a lot of times people that are selling one property in Los Angeles and California are buying one property in Los Angeles and California, right? The DST is interesting because you can buy multiple properties. So for example, it could be an ESPN headquarters. This is hypothetical. You could buy into a FedEx facility or an Amazon facility that's one property. But most of our DSTs are portfolios, right? That trust that owns multiple properties in the trust. So a typical portfolio would look something like this. It could be 5 apartment buildings in Florida in one DST portfolio. It could be 30 storage facilities in Texas in one DST portfolio. And it could also be maybe 5 hospitals in Arizona in one DST portfolio. You get the idea, right? So the 3 property rule or the 200% rule, depending on the QI you talk to, how you set this up and how you're working it. But imagine you sold that $1 million property in Santa Monica, California, and now you went to 5 apartments in Florida, 30 storage facilities in Texas, 5 hospitals in Arizona. You went from 1 property in 1 city in 1 state to 40 properties in 3 states and 3 asset classes. You see the diversification, which would be very hard to do in the 45 days. So a way to get diversified, to kind of create your own little REIT, if you will, is to do a DST. And when we sell those apartment buildings, notice that apartments are gathered together, storage, we keep it separate. That way, when we sell it, we sell all 5 apartments to a REIT. We sell them all to a pension fund as a portfolio. We sell them all to a sovereign wealth fund is how it works in these deals. Limited personal liability. Now, this is a really big one. You're all commercial brokers, so you understand exchange law, right? If you sell $1 million property, the net sales price is $1 million. What's the rule? You have to go back into $1 million in real estate, equal or greater. Otherwise, it's taxable. You can exchange down, sell $1 million property, buy a $100,000 property. You're paying taxes on the $200,000 done exchange. So most people want to go equal or greater, right? You can take on more debt and more equity. Anything less is taxable. So for that person that sold $1 million property, has $500,000 in debt, the loan gets retired, right? So the $500,000 in debt or equity arrives at the qualified intermediary, it gets wired into your DST or your upleg, right? Property. So what happens is with the DST, can you imagine us replacing debt for everyone? Can you imagine us getting loans on 500 people? How long would it take? How much would it cost? It would cost a fortune, it would take forever. The IRS, when the Revenue Procedure 2004-86 came out for DSTs, allowed us to put 1 loan on the property. All DST sponsors can put 1 loan on the property. Since it's 1 loan, we go to a third-party bank, it's non-recourse financing, meaning that there's no credit check, right? We're not looking for financing from an individual. We're not looking for a social security number. They're giving us our debt, their debt. We're going to go out and get the best loan possible. In fact, we're going to get a better rate. Sometimes it's going to be, it could be 1% or even 2% better than a lot of rates that are out there, right? By the way, I saw my name says Hunter Jensen. It's Charles Jensen. It's my son. He does the Zoom calls on this computer. So I'm sorry about that. So a long story short is with the financing, you don't have to go out and get a loan, right? You can sit back and absorb our debt. So as a smart company, some of our DSTs have no debt. There's people that are debt adverse that don't want debt. Some of our DSTs have 40 or 50% loan to value. Our DSTs even go up to 80% loan to value. Some of our Amazons are 82% loan to value. Why? Because everyone has a different debt level, right? Someone might exit their 1031 exchange and they're at a 25% debt level. They need to get back to 25% equal or greater. What they can do is put half their money, identification number 1, into a 0 debt inland deal. Identification number 2, half their money into a 50% loan to value inland deal. 50, half into 50, half into 0, averages you out to 25%. Let's say your client only gets approved for 50% financing, right? But you need 70% financing. You could do identification number 1, the property you're working on, and then put a piece into our 82% loan to value inland Amazon deal, right? To lever up because there's no credit check. So the nice thing about a DST is think about those clients that are too old, that are retired, that don't have an income stream, that can't get a loan. What about all those investors that are selling that $5 million apartment building with $2.5 million in debt? And you're going to lose your listing, right? If you cannot get the financing. This kind of went off as a bell years ago. My buddy works at Marcus and Millichap in Encino, and he called me one day. So you do a lot of exchanges. We're just talking kind of just randomly, and he says, I lost a lot of deals nationally last year. I said, well, what'd you lose them to? Financing, this, that. Kind of gave me a laundry list. I was like, oh, well, you don't need financing in a DST. You can just go into our DST and pick it out. So this is a very powerful tool because you're taking care of your debt requirements by absorbing inland's debt, right? And because the debt's not yours, it's non-recourse to you, so it limits your personal liability. But in addition, you receive all the depreciation benefits of the leverage. So imagine never having to take out a loan, getting all the depreciation benefits and taking care of the IRS consideration on your 1031 exchange. That's got to be huge, right? So as a realtor, as you're walking around, commercial broker, as you're walking around, it's just another arrow in your quiver that you have a leg up on the person next to you because you have an option if the financing falls out. You have a DST through Andy on that. And I'll get more into a minute here. So Here's an example where someone sold their property, they relinquished their property, $1.1 million. They're at a 45% loan to value. They're buying into an inland DST that's 48.5. So you see how their equity stayed the same, but they're picking up an extra $65,719 in debt, or 3.5% more in debt. What's happening is they're not getting more income. They're going to get more depreciation. They're going to offset more of that ordinary income that's reported on Schedule E. So more debt isn't necessarily bad, because with us, it's not your loan, it's not recourse, but you're going to get all the upside depreciation and appreciation of the property as well. A lot of people will put a DST in an estate plan. So you know those investors that they own that apartment building and they're in their 60s and they want to retire from the real estate. They can sell their property, exchange into a DST, and put the DST inside of their revocable living trust. That way, when they die, the kids are not inheriting an apartment building that they don't know how to manage, that will fight about when to sell it, that will fight over who to manage it, how to manage it, right? That you're passing on real estate to your heirs in a very easy manner. A lot of the estate planning attorneys that Andy works with handle these types of situations and can make it very easy for continuity of property when people die. Insurance policy. Now, this is not like a Geico policy. This is made exactly for you. If you're selling a property, right, as a commercial broker, a lot of people I know, commercial brokers, will identify one property. Why? Because it's hard to identify 3 properties and get them under control, right? And get an escrow. So if you're selling a property, a lot of times you're identifying one property. But would it be nice through Andy to identify property 2 and 3 as an inland DST, just in case you fall out of escrow? Can you imagine that client that's calling you every day? Hey, I'm really nervous. We haven't found anything yet. Or I know the deal we found, identification 1, is a little shaky, but it costs no extra money through Andy to look at our menu, or the menu of options that Andy has. We're just one of the options, and look at property number 2 and 3 as an inland DST, just in case you fall out of escrow, right? Does that make sense? So it's a nice way for you as the real estate professional to ensure that the exchange goes through and it all kind of works. So kind of in closing, before we open for questions here, and I'm going to go over a couple other things here, is if you have someone that doesn't want any management, they want to have the management game, right? They want access to high quality properties. They want to not have to take out a loan, have diversification, maybe use this as an estate plan or insurance policy. The DST could be right for you. And by the way, in all the DST companies that are out there, it's very rare to find a DST in California. Why? Because we get higher cap rates in states like Arizona, Texas, Florida. You get the idea, right? So one of the easiest ways to get out of state, if people really want to get out of state because of Prop 19 or Assembly Bill 1482, the rent controls and all that, the DST is very easy because Andy holds the menu of all the DST options and people just pick. We've already closed on the DST in advance. We put together a private placement memorandum of 200 to 300 pages in advance. We have virtual property tours that are done in advance. So by the time they're doing their exchange, it's very easy because you can look through a list of menu of DSTs to pick the one that's right for you. As a real estate professional, you can use a DST in multiple ways. And I'm going to pull up one more document here that I actually wrote for commercial brokers years ago. And this piece has been passed around and kind of recreated. They weren't all my ideas, but I wrote this out, kind of compiling a bunch of ideas. Here it is. I'm just going to pull this up here in 1 second. And these are some ideas to look at to utilize the DST for you in a way that makes sense. So, and this is something that Andy can send you post call, right? Can you all see this okay?
Yes.
We see number 1. Andy, does that read okay? Number 1. So number 1 is avoiding financing obstacles. So if you run into an issue where you can't get a loan, someone can't get financing, the DST always has debt and there's no approval process. And we go from 0 to 82. The average is 50. DSTs make great backup properties. Again, you're doing property number 1, put property number 2 and 3 is an inland DST. Avoiding taxable gains on boot. Your investor is selling that $2 million apartment building, but they bought a $1.8 million apartment building, identification number 1. Property number 2 and 3 is $100,000 DST times 2, right? Then that would be $2 million. That way you're helping them avoid tax, and you're the realtor that saved them. They tell their friends at a party, hey, my realtor was awesome, helped me avoid my tax situation. No property management headaches. We handle the tenants, the toilets, the trash. It's passive. Diversification benefits, multiple properties, multiple states. Don't get sidelined. If I would have written this again today, I would have put this number 1 and I would have called it get the listing, right? For you, the realtor, you can get the listing because I'll tell you a real anecdote of a story. I met the financial advisor, and it was the real estate, commercial real estate broker, and an investor. He's a neurosurgeon, and he had owned 47 properties. And this commercial broker had been trying to work with this guy for 5 years, never got one listing. We sat down at a restaurant called Alexander's in Encino one night. The next day, after learning about DSTs, guess what? He got 5 listings. 5 listings. Today, this investor sold 15 properties and created 15 listings for that real estate professional. So you get the idea that we're showing off-market properties. We've already purchased these DSTs. They're off-market. They're out of state. And sometimes it's a draw for people that want to get their rental property out of state or out of management, right? You can swap to drop into 1031, right? Exchange over and over and over and die and get the step up in basis to fair market value. The taxes go away. You defer and eliminate taxes if you die with it under current tax law. Well, the DST is the same way. You can die and get the step up as well in the DST as well. Estate planning tool, high quality properties, low minimum investments at $100,000. That's my presentation. Andy can send this this little brochure to you in PDF if you like. And I hope you can all meet in person. Manny and Andy, should we open up for questions?
First of all, that was just a brilliant presentation. How you broke everything down, and we kind of like try to do everything in like 30 minutes, and you kind of nailed it even under 30 minutes, just to kind of leave some space for questions or whatever. But it is really the gist of what it is. So thank you for you're a pro, so thank you for squeezing everything and make it very digestible as well. Yes, if you don't mind or Andy can send that document, and of course we can share some content and information so people can reach out, etc. Andy, do you want to have anything that you want to add? Because I definitely want to open for questions here in the group, but all yours.
Yeah, just really quickly, I've been strong on the DSTs for almost 2 years now, and the realtors who we've been working with, when I tell you, it's like once these realtors, and I'm talking about commercial, both commercial and residential, once they see the deals and the listings that they've been able to get out of the DSTs, I mean, it's just the phone calls just keep coming in, right? So just typically these are 3 of the simplest ways we get it. So client's been trying to get a listing for someone, right? But a lot of people in California, they don't have an out, right? So I tell people your 1031 is as good as your original entry point. They don't have an exit point. So we show them the DST outfit where there's no management involved, and they get to get at California. That's one thing how clients are getting listings. And usually once the client gets their first 2 checks on a monthly basis, the next thing is they call the realtor, say, hey, how much can I get for this property? That's usually what I see. The second thing that I see for a lot of realtors is they're running around looking for a 1031 replacement, but they can't find one that meets the exact amount of what they're selling it for. So usually clients don't want to pay any taxes, right? So we can absorb that leftover. If it's $200,000, $2 million, whatever that dollar amount is over 100,000, Inland and I, we can absorb that leftover into a product, right? So like I said, we make it very seamless. And the great thing is, like I said, Charles, we sit down with the client. If you ever need us, I can bring Charles in or I can do it for you. And it's just one more tool that the realtors have on the commercial or the residential side to try to get these deals done. And the largest deal I got last year was a gentleman, right? And this came to me on the 48 hours before the window closed. The guy sold a hotel in Dallas, Texas, and he was doing a 1031. He was buying an assisted living care that fell off last minute, right? So he called me in, and then we were able to find a replacement and get it closed within 48 hours. I don't know any realtor that has property that can be closed that quickly. So we're just an insurance solution for that thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the thing that Charles just showed you, the 10 reasons to do a DST. I'm always available. As you know, Calabasas to Westlake is my area. I'll type in my phone number. You can call me, text me if you have any questions, you want to do a one-on-one. Last time after our meeting, I think I sat down with about half the people in here. Okay, so please, whatever questions you have for myself or Charles, please go ahead.
Thank you, guys. Whoever has questions, just mute yourself, or if you want to type it in, either or, ask away. This is definitely a good platform between our two guests over here to get more information.
And many, Andy and I would love to come in, right, Andy, buy some lunch, do special events with you guys anytime. Would be awesome.
We're definitely going to plan this. I'm not sure, we're just waiting for, currently we're like, 10 people capacity. We're going to hold our breath for just maybe, a few weeks longer.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can, reopen the to bigger crowd, 20, 30 people or what have you. Unless we're in Orange County, I heard it's already, 50 people. So,
Pasadena, I'm doing some events starting in May. June 15th is the big date, right? But I found in Beverly Hills, I can max out around 16 in Beverly Hills
okay.
right now. But June 15th, it'll open up even bigger than that. So
yeah.
Question.
Yeah. Go for it, Sam.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I don't know if you already talked about this, but so is it like in a way that you are representing the seller and I'm representing the buyer? Is that how it works with the DSTs? Are you representing sellers?
So really, it's the buyers, the buy side, right? So the sell side, we don't handle, because Andy and I, we're not real estate professionals, meaning that we don't have licenses to sell, right? So our goal is to be on the buy side, right? And what's nice about that on the buy side, it's just looking through a menu of options, almost like if you're a restaurant or something like that, and they just pick, and so it can speed up the transaction. Sometimes when they find the right property, right DST, you can get them out of state, but we're only on the buy side.
Okay, and do I get a commission from this transaction? As
Right up there.
I said,
I'm kidding. I heard you.
Yeah.
Andy, you want me to cover this?
Yes, go ahead, Charles.
Excellent. So when the securities law, we're not allowed to compensate to non-securities people, right? And you remember the old TICs, Sam, back in the day, the TICs, the TICs? Back in the TIC days, they had a lot of TICs that were non-securities, and so they could compensate on those. So we cannot compensate. That's one of the downsides, is we cannot give a commission on this side. However, the way we see it is like, this is not going to be your first choice necessarily, but this is going to pop up if your client this is going to fit them or get the sell for you. This could be an extra arrow in your quiver, if you will. So if someone wants to get out of state, you can't find the right property, they want out of management, they can't get the financing, it's going to preserve your listing. It's going to keep your sell from happening, right? We're kind of like your Ray Donovan, if you ever seen that show on Showtime. Ray Donovan, where you're a fixer when that comes up. Andy's there for you.
I got you. Thank you.
Good question, Sam. Thank you. Who else have questions? What are you guys are thinking? I do have one question for you guys. What are the top, I don't know, 2, 3 products out there for DSTs currently? Also take into consideration, well, I'll ask that, and then pre-COVID, and then maybe post-COVID, if anything changed. It's interesting to know.
I can answer that with the experience that I've had. So pre-COVID, I think everything was more balanced out, but post-COVID, I think the areas that we were offering before COVID, Texas and Florida, just went absolutely crazy. So we've done Florida deals from South Florida all the way to Jacksonville and Tennessee. But I did a deal with Charles. It was a combination of a Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, and I believe it was a Jacksonville DST that, is just done so well, and clients have been really happy. But since COVID started, Charles had an offering last year. It was in It was in Thornton, Colorado, right outside of Denver. And I actually personally went there myself because I had a lot of clients interested. It was an Amazon distribution center. So just imagine if you had clients and you're looking to do a 1031 for them, and you can present to them an Amazon distribution center in the United States. So we had that deal, and that deal, I mean, we closed probably 3 or 4 1031s for clients just based on the Amazon deal. So right now people want name, they want safety, they want to make sure those dividends are going to be there. So I think multifamily is huge. The Amazon deals are huge. Inland, I just started looking, they have some public storage deals that are coming up that I think are going to be really, really big. Any other things, Charles, that Inland is launching that you think would be very popular?
Yeah, like you said, it's mostly apartments, you know, Amazon type properties, storage facilities, like you said. We do some medical buildings here and there. We're starting to do a little bit of net lease, some grocery stores, just for certain people that really, you know, it's kind of like a bond. You're not going to get much growth, but it has a little bit higher income. So just stuff that feels safer. We're really focusing on inflation hedge because we know if we're printing a lot of money this year, I think we're looking at spending $5 trillion the way things are going, right? Printing money is going to cause inflation. Interest rates will go up eventually. It's just nice to be in apartments because you can reset rents every year, as well as storage, reset those rents. So we're trying to focus on areas that are necessity, as well as have a nice inflation hedge.
Just as an average, what is the average cap rate you guys are getting on DSTs, and how long is it for?
And do you want to talk as a whole?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you want to cover that as far as all the sponsors? Because I know you have more than just us.
You know, on the DST space, right? The beauty of it, right? So just don't quote me on this, but typically a DST, the holding period is about 4 to 6 years. Generally, let's just say 3 to 6 years, right? And so to the client, right, they go into, let's say it's an Amazon distribution center. Inland's goal is to offload that in 5 to 6 years, right? The main goal is they want to make money on the property. So just to give you an idea, right? So client collects a dividend, okay, a monthly dividend from Inland, from Amazon, paying 5% on a monthly basis. 5 years later, Inland exits Amazon, right? So that the option, you as the commercial realtor, right? You're going back to your clients, and you'll be working myself. We go back to clients, says, you know what, Inland's selling the Amazon building. The client has 3 options. They can cash in, pay the taxes, and do whatever they want to do, okay, which is probably not the option. Second option is you as the realtor, right? You can go out, let's say 5 years later, California looks a lot better. They can 1031 that product right back into California. It's multifamily or whatever you have. Or the lastly is they can look at Inland's inventory and do a DST back with Inland, okay? So that gives you the majority of people, they just leave it in the DST. But what the beauty as a realtor is 3 to 6 years later, you have a second opportunity to present a product or a location for a client that you would not have if you went to a triple net deal that's locked up for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Thank you. That's good.
All right. Other questions you guys have? Anybody? Let me see, nothing in the chat. All right, well, Charles, Andy, I really appreciate the time and the expertise and the knowledge. Andy, send us more good stuff, and definitely let's put it on the calendar. We can start in the West Side area, Beverly Hills. We can start Valley, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Let's do it so we can just get more familiar with this and get more connections to that. So thank you guys both for your time.
Absolutely, thanks for your time, and I'll hopefully see everyone soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Before
Much
you guys leave,
appreciated.
can we get the 10 reasons why to do the DST on the chat?
Yeah. Andy's gonna send it to me, so we're gonna share that with the group. And before the rest of you, before we're gonna go, let's just open mic if you have anything to share, any needs. I know David Yashar is on the call. David, what do you have? What do you need? Or Jason is on the call too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Juan, Bakersfield. Go for it, guys. David, what do you have? What do you have? What do you need? Go for it.
As far as properties available for sale, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, we thank you very much, Manny. Appreciate the opportunity. We have a couple of opportunities. The first one, it's called Mulberry Plaza. It's a shopping center, approximately 6,500 square feet on about 22,700 square foot land. This property is at a signalized intersection. That's everybody what they're looking for these days. It consists of a total of 7 tenants. The property was built in 2009. It shows very well, good mix. Seller is motivated to make a deal. It was previously listed with another agent and with Marcus and Millichap. And here we are, we've got it. And we just listed it about 2 weeks ago. And we're at a lower price. And I told the seller, look, you price it accordingly and, we will have activity. And there's already one offer on the table, but, far from happening. We are listed at $2,895,000. It's about a 5.8 cap rate on the asking price. Once again, $2,895 is the asking price, 5.8 cap on the asking price. Like I said, so what any buyer that's looking for a shopping center for retail in that price range would, like what they are going to see. I assure you. That's number one. Number two, we have a site, and this is in city of Compton. It's a land opportunity very close to the Civic Center or the City Hall. The site is about 51,500 square feet. It goes from one corner to a signalized intersection. It is commercial zoned. It is currently income producing, and that's part of the property, about 8,900 square feet. It is bringing in about $6,150 a month, consists of a body shop, a mechanic shop. You can get that tenant out with a 60-day advance notice, or you can keep him and, develop the balance of the square footage, which is approximately 42,000 square feet. Seller is doing a reverse exchange. And anyone that knows reverse exchange, that means the seller has made a commitment to sell this property. And motivation is very high. We have actually had 4 price reductions. We are at a number now, asking price $2,595,000, puts us at about $50 a square foot, and we can do slightly better than that. Again, what's important for this deal is the buyer to come in with proof of funds, showing the seller the ability to close, and of course, the shortest contingency, even though this is a development opportunity, nothing, like 45, 60 days, but something probably a contingency of about 3 weeks to a month would be considered, and closing, thereafter, 2 to 3 weeks after that. If anyone has any questions on these 2 opportunities and other inventory that we have, please go ahead and give me a call, 310-710-5626. Once again, 310-710-5626, or text me and I will definitely get back to you. All right. Thank you very much.
I have a question. Your second deal is off market?
No.
Okay.
It is on market.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, David. Who else? What do you have? What do you want to promote? What are you looking for? Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time. I hope that the DST session was informative. We're going to have more of those. Look at the link that I sent via the e-blast, the emails. If we keep the links for second quarter speakers, we have a few lined up. Working on a few more throughout the once again the second quarter. So thanks everybody. Keep using the platforms to share the private WhatsApp group, Facebook group, and keep doing a good work out there. So stay healthy and busy, guys. Happy Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.